Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lynn, a Liquidy Smargis, here for another episode of the Publishing for Professionals podcast. I hope you are enjoying your day today, and I'm really glad to bring you some new and exciting episode. And this week, we are going to talk about how to hire a ghostwriter. So, a lot of people are familiar with ghostwriters, and what a ghostwriter is somebody who helps you write your book. So they start with you from the start and goes all the way through, write your book. Some ghostwriters like myself, I also offer book coaching in addition to ghostwriting. So it's not just writing your book, it's also helping you coaching your way through your book to help you become more confident in the publishing process. So let's start today by talking about how do you hire a ghostwriter? Well, first you have to decide that you're going to hire a ghostwriter, right? And you're going to decide to hire a ghostwriter because you're probably a busy professional and you want to get your book done. So someone I just recently spoke to, he wants to get a TED Talk, but he can't pitch TED Talks and write a book at the same time. He just doesn't have the bandwidth. So what we're going to do is I'm going to write his book. He's going to pitch his TED Talk. And then our goal is to have his book ready by the time he has his TED Talk. That way he can just bring copies with him and sign it at the TED Talk. So something like that is a perfect example of why you'd want to hire a ghostwriter. Maybe you started on your book and you are just a really slow writer and you want to get it done faster. Or maybe you're just not confident about book writing. And that's another great reason to hire a ghostwriter. But most people are going to hire ghostwriters for a combination of reasons. It's not just going to be one or two things. But going through the process of hiring a ghostwriter might take weeks to months to find the right ghostwriter that's a great fit for you and your writing goals. Now, there's many different places you can hire ghostwriters, including Fiverr and Upwork. I just don't recommend hiring ghostwriters from Fiverr or Upwork because they just typically are not really well versed in writing, and you typically don't get a good quality. Now, that's not to say that all writers on Upwork or Fiverr are not a good quality writer. But that has tended to be my experience because I was on years ago as a writer and people were just trying to see who could pay me the lowest amount, right? And you're not going to get a good quality writer from people who are just trying to, get by on the lowest amount of money they can get for ghostwriting. So when you are looking for a ghostwriter, though, you do want to consider many elements, including personality, because that's a really big one. You really need to click with your ghostwriter. Work ethic, transparency, that's huge. If you're asking your ghostwriters questions and they're not answering it, or they're kind of skirting around the answer and not giving you a direct answer, that's a huge red flag. You don't want to go with somebody who is not directly answering your question. Now, if it's something they don't know and have to get back to you at, that's something different. But if they're saying that to multiple questions, then you really got to question their professionalism. You want to also consider what kind of contract they have and ask them to forward it to you ahead of time. Do they do book coaching or offer book editing services so you don't have to look for a separate book editor? What other services can they provide or can they refer you to in your publishing journey? So that's also really important. So one of the things I offer as a publishing company is ghostwriting as well as book coaching, and then book editing and also formatting and book cover design. So you can work with me through the complete process, and I don't have a distribution contract. It's just literally once you're done working with me, you just need to give me 30 days and then we're done. So I only have a 30-day contract because they make it really easy for people to come into the ghostwriting process and just work with me as long as they need to work with me until their book is finished. So here are some other tips on how to hire a ghostwriter and what to look for. Now, make sure to take time to consider all of these aspects when you're looking for a ghostwriter to work with you when you're working on writing and publishing your book. So first of all, not all writers are ghostwriters. So a lot of people that are writers are actually not ghostwriters. There's a very small percent of us who are writers who are actually ghostwriters. It might be like 10%. I can't remember the actual number, but it's very, very small. So just because you see somebody does book editing does not mean they're a ghostwriter. If you see somebody does copy editing does not mean they're a ghostwriter. If you see somebody just proofreading, that does not mean that they're a ghostwriter. Okay. So just because they write does not mean that they work as a ghostwriter, because many writers find ghostwriting to be energy intensive and difficult. And while it is, ghostwriting is the best service to offer for me because it plays into my skill sets. While I also offer, other content marketing and book marketing assistance for my clients, ghostwriting is definitely at the top of the list of my services. And that's another thing is if you are hiring a ghostwriter, make sure this is somebody who does it full time, not somebody who just does it every once in a while, right? Because they're probably not going to have the experience that you need. So, while you may have a writer that you know or you have worked with before, they might not offer ghostwriting as one of their services. And don't assume that every writer offers ghostwriting, like we said before. Okay, even if they just offer blog or newsletter, they may not be a good ghostwriter. It's important to note that each writer, like many other verticals, offers a niche of writing services. So beware of writers that offer too many services that don't connect to each other, like ghostwriting and press releases, right? They are very two different services. And unless it's an agency that has a separate person working on each one, you may not get a good quality product. So while some writers do have a broader skill set too, you'll want to find a ghostwriter whose primary service is ghostwriting. All right, the next thing you want to do is write down your list of services you'd like the ghostwriter to perform. So look around and your project, okay, and see what type of services do you need. Do you just need a book writer? Do you just need someone to write your book? Would you like somebody to assist you with book coaching, which is helping you along the way making better decisions about your book? Would you also like somebody who does cover design, book formatting, book marketing, and or book editing? Okay, so while ghostwriters will offer ghost writing, they may not offer book editing, and not all ghostwriters give you the whole array of services that that from writing to publishing, like Write For You does, like Unicorn Publishing. So if your ghostwriter is a one-stop shop, then ask them about what they offer and their experience behind the ghostwriting services they do have. Next, you're going to jot down a group of values or preferences that are not negotiable for your ghostwriter. For example, you might prefer working with a female writer or a writer with a background in a specialty such as health or wellness. Write down your list on a paper or an electronic document, and I always suggest getting a notebook because then you can keep track of all your thoughts, questions, and ideas in one place, and they're not little sticky notes all over so it's very much more organized. You'll also want to take notes when you're interviewing ghostwriters, right? And that's really important. And when I say interview, I mean interview. Like have that list of questions ready to ask that ghostwriter that you are going to ask them on your discovery call. And they should give you a short discovery call, no cost to you. So like a 15-minute or 20-minute discovery call. And that's what I offer, just to kind of get the basics to see if we're a good fit. And then to tell you like what the next step is we would have of your book, because every client comes in at a different place in their writing. Some of my clients come in at the idea stage. Some of my clients come in and they've got half a book written, right? So it just really depends on the client. So in addition to keeping track of your thoughts, putting your words on paper also creates a great landing pad for ideas and documenting information. So a simple notebook works perfectly fine. You don't have to get anything fancy. You can also purchase, if you want to get fancy, a leather-bound journal from a local bookstore or artist if you want a more artistic look to your notebook that you're writing your notes down in. All right, where do you find a ghostwriter? So we talked about this a little bit earlier, just briefly. I would definitely suggest starting with LinkedIn. And you can look under the hashtag ghostwriter. You're going to find a lot of ghostwriters available on LinkedIn. Besides LinkedIn, you can also look on Reedsy. I offer ghostwriting at Unicorn Publishing Company. And there's also other freelance platforms online that you can look for a ghostwriter. Now you're going to narrow down your list of ghostwriters you want to interview. So once you've looked around online and you've written down the ghostwriter name, the point of contact, the information, make a list of ghostwriters you want to interview. And depending on the services, you can eliminate some ghostwriters from your potential writing list. Also, you can also eliminate some that you don't click with. If you don't click with them, definitely don't hire them, because you guys are going to work together intimately for many months. And if you don't click with them, you're going to just be crying the whole time, and you don't want to do that. So make sure that you have your list narrowed down to that you works with the personality, you like what they offer, you've looked over their contract, ask them to send you a contract. Any ghostwriter will send you a contract just to look over. If they don't, that's a big red flag. I would not go with that ghostwriter at all. And what services do they provide? What is their expertise level? What is their skill set? And also ask for references. Okay, that's really important. And not just asking for references, but actually reaching out and contacting or calling those references to see what their experience was like, what they liked about writing with the ghostwriter, and what maybe they didn't like about working with that ghostwriter. All right. The importance of interviewing your ghostwriter. So when you're looking for a ghostwriter, make sure that they offer a discovery call or video chat to find out how you click. I always recommend Zoom because you can look at body language and see like how they're interacting with you on the other side of the camera. So spending 15 minutes or more on a video chat is an investment well worth your time, even if you're interviewing 5 or 6 ghostwriters, okay? Because you're going to be working extensively with your ghostwriter up to a year or more. So hire a ghostwriter you like to spend time with because you don't want to have friction in that ghostwriting process. Make sure to discuss the details of the work and be as detailed as possible. And also, if you can send any information to that ghostwriter ahead of time on what you're looking at, because then they can look over that information prior to your discovery call and give you a better idea of what they can offer you. So some things you might want to include and talk about with your ghostwriter are your background research, whether you've completed it or you're looking for the ghostwriter to do background research, time limits, deadlines, and goals for the project. Now, I normally, when I start working with somebody, ask them about their timeline. I normally don't pick a drop dead date unless it's something like they're going to a conference or a TEDx talk and they need to have a book by a specific date. A lot of times we'll pick a month, like you want to have this done by the end of July or the end of August, and that's perfectly fine. You can always work with them with timeline, maybe making it shorter or longer, depending on what they need. Time limits, deadlines, and goals. What information can you provide, such as an outline, video content, blog content, or a podcast link? So if you're making a book from your podcast, you can send them your podcast link ahead of time and say, this is the podcast that I'm working with. This is what I want to write about with my book. Now, it might be that you can use half of your podcast episodes or a few of them. And your ghostwriter can help you work that out. For ghostwriting a book, what length would you like your book to be? A typical book is about 200 pages long and 40,000 words. Now, every book does not have to be like that. Your book can be longer. It can be shorter. You can make a longer book and break it up into a series so that you publish like 100 pages of it at a time. That's very popular right now. Do you want to co-author with your ghost? Give them a byline, or is your writing going to be a true ghost? So you are the author and the ghostwriter doesn't get credit for the content written. A lot of times my clients will give me content as a book editor, even though I'm the ghostwriter, but they want to be seen as the author, and that's perfectly fine. So they're paying me to write their book, and then they're seen as the author, and then I get credited on their book as a editor. Write down your questions beforehand and make sure to be prepared to make the most out of your discovery call, because popular ghostwriters may charge for their sessions. So if it is a paid consultation, make sure you know that upfront. Ask any other questions which come to mind when you're in your session and get a feel for the ghostwriter if you think you click with this person. All right, we're going to take a little break right here, but when we come back, I'm going to have some more tips for you on interviewing your ghostwriter. Hey, my friends, it's Lynn Liquidy, smartest ghostwriter unicorn publishing company, back for the second half of today's episode. So we're talking about how to hire a ghostwriter. So one of the things you can do is, if your friend, so where to find some more ghostwriters, let's talk about that. So if your friend has used a ghostwriter, definitely, if you know any friends, ask them about their experience. Ask them what mistakes they've made. Ask them what went really well. Ask them, what would you advise if I'm want to work with a ghostwriter? Like, what would you recommend that I do or talk about in the discovery call? That's always good to find out from someone who has experience working with a ghostwriter. And also make sure you find out upfront what the ghostwriter charges. So if the ghostwriter is, get your whole manuscript or your rough draft or whatever it is, or your idea, and then you both have hashed out the details of your book, then they can give you a price on your book so you know ahead of time. Some ghostwriters take payment plans. Some require a half deposit up front. It just depends on the ghostwriter. There is no industry standard for how you pay for a ghostwritten book. So everybody is different, to make sure that you understand and clearly understand the payment plan outlines that the ghostwriter you will be working out during the course of your book. So for me, I have a month-by-month ghostwriting/book coaching package. So I have about 5 hours and 10 hours a month, which is a flex time. And so it's really easy for my clients, because the more time they need, the more time they can buy. So they can just keep going every month. We have the 30-day contract until their book is finished. So that makes it really simple for my clients to just hop into the ghostwriting process at any point in their book, even if they're just at their idea, or if they made an outline or have a rough draft, because we can just pick it up from wherever they're at. And I can do book coaching and ghostwriting, and then eventually book editing. And if my client wants to self-publish on Amazon and they need assistance with the book cover design, and book formatting. I offer that as well. I have a team of 4 that we get the job done super quickly and professionally. And I really love my team. They're really fabulous to work with. All right. So one of the other things you want to make sure is clear is when your book is going to be finished. So make sure you hash that out when you're talking about books on your ghostwriter discovery call, and ask them as many questions as you can think of. Now, obviously, don't ask. There's some questions your ghostwriter can't answer. So a lot of times I get people on the discovery call and they ask me, how many books can I sell? Well, that's not something, honestly, I can tell you, because book marketing, that's the book marketing piece. And if my client doesn't do a good job in book marketing, obviously they're not going to sell a lot of books. But if my client does a great job in book marketing, they're going to sell more books. And book marketing is definitely a process that has to be consistent, and you have to do it continually in order for your book to maintain good sales. And it's very hard to do. I've done book marketing for all my books, and it's just a consistent marketing process that you need to do. Sending out emails, posting on social, maybe making some YouTube shorts and putting them on YouTube, or starting a Substack, whatever that is. You want to publish and show your book out to the world. All right. Another thing is like, if you are going with a ghostwriter, does that ghostwriter know a PR agent that may assist you with book marketing? Do you want to do the book marketing yourself? Can the ghostwriter refer you to other people? So you can ask them in your discovery call, hey, what other types of professionals can you refer me to if I need them in the publishing process, and find out. So I have several people that I refer people to. If they are writing a book and want to start a podcast, I refer them out to people that are really good at building podcasts. If they are somebody who is looking for maybe a literary lawyer because they want to do something additional with their book that requires legal work, I can refer them to somebody like that as well. So I have a lot of people in my network that if I don't do the specialty that they're looking for, I can easily refer them out to other people. All right, my friends, before we leave today, I want to end by sharing with you a recent client feedback, which I absolutely love, a recent client review. And this is from Alex Trumbull. So if you go on my website, writeforyou.me, you'll see all our books. You'll see the list of all the books. So I have helped Alex with editing 2 books, and his review says, oh my God, her book editing services were amazing, extremely easy to work with, gets her part done quickly, and I love the ideas she brought to the table. I will definitely be using her services again in the future. Thank you, Alex Trumbull, and make sure you look up Alex Trumbull on Amazon, and not only on Amazon, but look him up in the podcast directory, because he has a fabulous podcast for executives that talks all about professional networking. So definitely check him out. All right, my friends, remember to get started on your book idea today, because today is the day to get started. Don't wait for tomorrow. And I'd be happy to help you out with the ghostwriting process. If you need to, make sure you book a discovery call with me on my website, www.writeforyou.me. All right, my friends, I hope you're having a fabulous day, and I will see you next episode of Publishing for Professionals.